My guest today is running for Congress in the 15th District of New York, and he has gained popularity through viral videos where he confronts powerful people about their warmongering, their destructive economic policies, you know, the things we see happening before our very eyes. Last week, this video went viral where he confronted New York Times columnist and economist Paul Krugman. Watch.
Okay. Uh-oh, Nobel Prize-winning economist here to tell us how great the economy is. I certainly wonder how the residents of Asheville, North Carolina must be feeling right now with no access to power or water or communication with the outside world. I wonder how enthusiastic they are about the economy right now. I wonder how enthusiastic the residents of the South Bronx must be feeling about the economy. Hey, maybe North Carolina should rename itself Israel so it'll get $20 billion in aid.
Jose Vega, thank you for joining me. I hope you bring that passion and steam to Redacted because I am with you. Now, incidentally, Paul Krugman said these were all Trump lies that have gone viral. I didn't hear any lies in this diatribe. So tell me what's motivating you to do these kind of things.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And yeah, so what's motivating me to do these things is when there are so-called authorities in this world who try to tell you that everything is okay. So Paul Krugman is known for telling people that the economy is actually a lot better than people would like to think. He says we won against the war in inflation. And I think that's a lie. And it is my job as a citizen first before a congressional candidate to tell the truth and to call out the so-called authorities when they think it's okay to lie to you and to your face. I mean, look, I brought up the people in Asheville, North Carolina, right? Can we really go over there where all these destroyed homes are, where they're only told you're going to get $750 as relief? And then we can tell them, hey, the economy is doing great. But if Israel or Ukraine comes crying, calling they need more money, yes, of course, let's mobilize all our resources to that. And so I think it is my responsibility to stand up and tell the truth, just as it is the responsibility of other American citizens to do the same.
But he refuses to engage on the issue. He's just calling these Trump lies. So what are the issues that they don't actually want to discuss that you hear about as you're campaigning as an elected official?
Yeah, well, the thing is, they're afraid of the fact that, you know, people know about the war economy. That's the thing. Our economy is propped up by a war and wars as a whole. It is not propped up by physical economic means. And so the thing they don't want to talk about is one of the things that I do want to talk about, which is one of the key platforms I have, which is this idea of rebuilding the United States economy. Why is it that the United States, the most developed nation in the world, doesn't even have high-speed rail, let alone magnetic levitated trains, right? China has them. All of Europe has them. Japan has them. It is insane that we can't get from New York to Chicago in 3.5 hours through a train. See, that's the thing. That's what an economy actually is. It's not the stock market. And we actually have a plan to fix it. You know, we call it the Space Civilian Construction Corps. Why is it that we leave the residents of Asheville, North Carolina without power, without water for days? Right? But we can quickly send over weapons and arms and build up our manufacturing plants to make weapons of war. That's the problem that they don't want to talk about, is that they don't care about the people here, right? We need power, we need hospitals, we need water systems, and we can build those. We can switch our economy from a war economy to a productive economy if we wanted to. But the thing is, there is no want or need to, because there's nobody in government who actually cares about people.
So we thought, I don't know who we is, but some of us might have thought that AOC was an anti-war candidate, that Bernie Sanders was an anti-war candidate, that Elizabeth Warren was an anti-war candidate, only to have them get into power and vote to fund all these wars. And one of your first videos that went viral was confronting AOC about this. And we'll play a little bit of it right here.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are other war hawks, okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of Americans?
nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization?
So tell me about how it became apparent that some of these anti-war candidates were really not, and how do we know what we get when we think we're voting for peace?
Well, here's the thing. That's why I'm running as an independent, because you look at somebody like AOC, who had all this Democrat infrastructure behind her. She had the Justice Democrats behind her, the DSA behind her. These are organizations that are intended to sheep herd people into the Democratic Party, organizations that are intended to take well-meaning people who do want actual change and put them in a box or in a fence where they're allowed to be as they can cause as much as a ruckus as they want within the confines of that space or in that box. And that's it. And that's what AOC finds herself in. But not only is she not only restricted to that box, she has embraced the two-party system. She has embraced the establishment. And we know that because they invited her to come up and speak at the Democratic National Convention to be an endorser of Kamala Harris. And the thing is, she doesn't even believe what she says, no matter how sincere she may appear about being afraid of a Donald Trump presidency. She was asked recently, well, wait a minute, how do you talk to people who may be reluctant to support Kamala Harris because of what's happening in the Middle East, because of the genocide going on? And she says, well, yeah, that is terrible, but, we might not have abortion, or we may not be able to protect all the LGBT people here in the country. Therefore, why add more bad? Let's just stick with the bad. If genocide is not a deal breaker for you, you have no principles, you have no morals, and you sold out a long time ago because you've been seduced by the establishment that has promised you power and change if you go along to get along, only to become that same establishment that you had promised you would cause a ruckus against.
Well, I really love your energy. I love seeing it out of young people who decide, I'm going to stand up, and I don't think either party is speaking for the truth, and I'm going to do this. How did you come into understanding the world this way?
Well, that's quite a journey. It was my association with the Schiller Institute and Helga Zeppler-Roush, who has been pushing this idea of the 10 principles that has been acknowledged around the world. This idea that we can cooperate with other nations, we can build, we can work together through the Belt and Road Initiative, through the BRICS process. There are two paths before us right now in the world. We can either go into thermonuclear destruction by allowing Israel to start this war with Lebanon and to provoke the war with Iran, or we can work with countries like Russia and China through mutual development, where we can build things together, where we can go to countries together and say, what is the infrastructure that is needed here to ensure that we can produce 1,000 nuclear engineers or 1,000 physicists by the end of 2028, so that they can help build and rebuild an economy. Because an economy, a real human-powered economy, is one that is always developing and one that is always building. And that is what I am a deep believer in. I'm a believer that every human being is created equal. Therefore, what are the conditions required to ensure that everyone can develop themselves creatively as possible and achieve their fullest potential? And that's the role of government, to do that, not to hinder people, not to leave people drowning, not to leave people dead or without power, without water, and only throw $700 their way. It is building schools and hospitals and giving people the best opportunities they need so that they can achieve themselves, and everyone has an equal opportunity at life, at living their best self, and being part of the humanity and creating something new and being part of a discovery process. That is what government is supposed to do. And that's what I believe. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I call out the warmongers in the way that I do.
Right. But you are up against a candidate who is funded by AIPAC, that's the Israeli lobby, and they have been taking down political candidates across the country and openly bragging about it for the interests of a foreign nation, no matter what you think of Israel. So how do you go up against this behemoth?
By going up against the behemoth, that's how. I mean, look, yes, Richie Torres is not only, his financing does not come from the people of the Bronx. It comes nationally. I know he's speaking in New Jersey next week, and he's going around. He gets sponsored trips to Israel. He speaks with people like Yoav Gallant all the time. Yeah, I understand the apparatus. And right next door, right next door in the district was Jamal Bowman, who got $25 million against him to prop up this guy named George Latimer, who's like even more of an airhead than Jamal Bowman is, right? I'm not a supporter of Jamal Bowman, but you
Right.
look
If
at
that's
Jamal
even
Bowman,
possible.
yeah, you look at Jamal Bowman's tweets, it's all about sports. All he talks about is sports. Like last night, he was just
Right.
talking about some ball game going on, I mean, where is this guy where he still has some months left in the Congress where he could be speaking up and saying something? See, that's the thing, right? It's not just that you're being targeted against and the Israeli lobby is putting up all this money against you. See, the thing is, you have to actually have ideas behind you. And the truth is that if more Americans understood what it meant to be a proper American, not this system that we have right now, where it's just fascism and dictatorship, where the United States currently is making a terrible imitation of the British Empire. If we actually return to the roots that founded this country, if we return to the things like what one of the founding fathers who's buried here in the Bronx, Gouverneur Morris, the man who penned the Constitution, who wrote the preamble to the United States, if we went back to that idea of we the people, we would realize we are more powerful than any lobby, any foreign nation, that the US citizenry actually has the ability to declare their independence again and have their right to self-determination. So the process to taking back our government begins by taking back our government, standing up. And look, it's not even just getting people to run for office. I did that because I thought we had to elevate the intervention process. You played something I did back in October of 2022. I have been standing up and intervening for years now. And my plea to the American people is that if we had 435 people, one in every congressional district, doing what I did on a daily basis, we could begin to have a semblance of a government again, of transparency, of accountability. Because you saw this last intervention I did with Krugman was spread nationally, had tons and tons of views. It went very viral. That was one intervention. We need 400 more of those happening between now and next week, because that is the only thing that will allow people to actually have hope again and have inspiration again. One of the most inspiring comments to me was somebody said, I can't tell if this guy is left wing or right wing. And I think that goes to show that there is much more that unites us than divides us. Libertarians were saying I was a libertarian, socialists saying I was a socialist. So, but
That's lazy, though. It's lazy to be confronted with something and then just call a name and say, well, if I can just put it in a box, I don't have to deal with it. And so I reject that wholeheartedly. And I see that you're running as an independent in order to push us to think. So I want to scream all the time at government meetings, at government speeches, especially when the State Department opens their mouth. What are your tips for doing this without getting arrested?
Well, my first tip is you have to listen to what Assange did in his first public appearance after coming out of jail. He made a plea to people to protect the First Amendment, to protect free speech, to exercise your free speech. And so no matter what fears or reservations you may have about speaking out, don't, because we still do have a First Amendment. I don't know for how much longer we do. I really don't. I think it is under threat right now. And the way to protect it is to do what I do. So my advice is, you show up with short sleeves, keep your hands up. You are not there to be a threat. You are there to spread a message. And look, you will get drowned out. You will get booed out. The people on stage may or may not hear you. But because of the power of the cell phones, because of the power of social media, you are trying to speak to the world right now. And if they don't hear you in the moment, they will hear you after. And so the initial thing about standing up is that the scariest part is just before you go. But when you stand up and the first words come out of your mouth and you actually say something, you say something that is powerful or just anything, and you've broken the social contract where it's no longer awkward, because you've already done it. You've broken the tension. Then as I say this all the time, it feels like you're flying at that point, because that's it. You've committed the ultimate sin of breaking this contractual relationship where now the person in the audience has stood up and spoken. And so if you don't want to get arrested, when the police come, not the security, when the police come, if they ask you to leave, you can gently be escorted out with them. Although in my case, sometimes they don't gently escort me out. Sometimes I get choked. Sometimes I get bruised. Sometimes I get pushed. And I would just say, you got to speak relentlessly. You can be afraid, and that's okay. You will be afraid. You will be shaking. You will be nervous, but it is not okay to let that not make you act. Do it with fear. Do it with the anxiety.
All right. Well, now's the time for bravery. Thank you for showing us how to do this. I really was excited to speak with you about this, and I love to support independent voices like this. So you can follow Jose Vega's campaign. It is, let me find the link here. It is votevega.nyc, or you can find him on X as well. Thank you for coming. Please come back on Redacted anytime.
Okay. I'll take you up on that. Thank you. Hopefully, if I make it to the office, if I make it to Congress, you can grill me anytime, any week, any day. You can ask me what's going on. I promise I'll be as transparent and accountable as possible.
Love it. Okay. All right. Deal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, if you are a homeowner and you're like me, you protect your home, but when's the last time that you checked on the title to your home? If you never have, you need to listen to this. It's unbelievable what can happen to the home's title. A new report on homeowners shows we now have $16 trillion in equity, which is an all-time high. That's why you need protection from a scam the FBI calls house stealing, where the equity in all of our homes is the target. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the story today that Americans have more equity in their homes than ever before. The number is astronomical, the trillions of dollars in equity that Americans have. So that's why this scam is increasing so rapidly, because you guys are sitting on so much equity in your home. Just let me know in the comments right now how many of you have a lot of equity in your home right now. Sadly, if nobody is watching the title to your home, these scammers can then transfer your title to their name and then take out loans on your behalf. This is happening, guys, and your equity could be gone. So protect yourself from equity from this despicable crime right now with the triple lock protection from our friends at HomeTitleLock.com. The first step is to check on your home's title to see if it's still in your name. Sign up with your address at HomeTitleLock.com and be sure to use the promo code Redacted, and they will send you a complete title scan of your home's title. And your first 30 days of triple lock home title protection is free, so you have nothing to lose. Try it for free for 30 days. Use our code and use our promo code and find out. It's fantastic. HomeTitleLock.com. Use our promo code Redacted. Free for 30 days. First 30 days is free. HomeTitleLock.com.